Welcome back, guys. Today we have a famous story on the Hinterkaifeck murders. A truly chilling tale, so enjoy. The Crawl Space. It started with little things. Jack and Melissa had just moved into their new home in Pittsburgh, a quiet, modest two-story house on a sleepy suburban street. They were thrilled. First-time homeowners, young professionals, newly married. Life was good. But soon Melissa began noticing odd things. Food missing from the fridge, a bottle of orange juice lower than it should be, a blanket out of place on the couch. She thought she was just tired, distracted. Jack brushed it off. "You probably forgot you drank it," he'd say, half laughing. But Melissa knew better. She was meticulous. Then came the noises, scratches, faint creaks, thuds above their bedroom ceiling. Jack insisted it was just the house settling. "Old homes make weird noises," he said. Still, the feeling grew. That crawling sensation in the back of your mind. The one that tells you something is wrong, even if you can't prove it. One night, Jack was working late. Melissa was alone, curled up watching TV, when she heard a distinct shuffle upstairs. She froze. Then came the slow creak of a door, inside the house. Grabbing her phone, she locked herself in the bathroom and called 911. When police arrived, they searched the home. Nothing. No forced entry, no intruders, nothing out of place. Except a strange draft from the upstairs hallway. One officer noticed a small hatch in the ceiling, the entrance to the crawl space above the attic. He pulled it open. A ladder extended upward. What they found made Melissa physically gag. The crawl space had a nest. Blankets, empty food containers, a radio, plastic bottles for waste. Someone had been living there quietly for weeks, maybe longer. A homeless man had found a way into the house during a construction project weeks earlier. He'd been hiding in the walls and attic, sneaking down at night to steal food and use the bathroom while the couple slept. He would watch them. The police found a small hole in the attic wall that looked directly into the master bedroom. On the floor next to it was a pair of binoculars. He was never caught. The man vanished before the police got there, likely slipping out while Melissa was locked in the bathroom. They never found fingerprints, no name, no identity. Just the terrible evidence that he had been living among them, watching and waiting. Melissa never slept in the house again. Before we get into the next story, please subscribe, it really helps me grow. The Boarder in Room 4. The story of Dorothea Puente. In the heart of Sacramento, California, nestled between tidy lawns and aging oak trees, sat a charming two-story Victorian boarding house. Its owner, Dorothea Puente, was a sweet, gray-haired grandmother type. She baked cookies for neighbors, attended church regularly, and ran a boarding home for the elderly, mentally ill, and down-on-their-luck individuals. She was beloved, or so it seemed. But behind that warm smile and floral dress was something far more sinister. In November 1988, social worker Judy Moyes reported one of her clients, Alvaro Bert Montoya, missing. Bert was developmentally disabled and schizophrenic, but kind-hearted and functional, with help. He'd been living at Dorothea's house for months. Judy became suspicious when Dorothea claimed Bert had moved away suddenly. She called the police. 2 officers came to the house at 1426 F Street. Dorothea greeted them with grandmotherly warmth. She offered tea. The officers, charmed but thorough, asked to look around. They noticed nothing suspicious until one of them stepped into the backyard and noticed a patch of disturbed soil. He asked about it. Dorothea smiled. "Just some garbage I had buried." Still, something felt off. They brought shovels, and by the end of that afternoon, they uncovered the first body. Over the next few days, 7 more corpses were found buried in the backyard. Neighbors gathered outside, jaws slack. They couldn't believe it. The sweet old woman who fed the homeless, who dressed in pearls and perfume, who attended AA meetings and hosted dinner parties, was a serial killer. Dorothea Puente wasn't caring for her boarders. She was killing them, slowly, quietly, and stealing their social security checks. Her method was cold and calculated. She'd drug her victims with sleeping pills or tranquilizers, suffocate them, and bury them at night. Some were disabled. Others were alcoholics or mentally ill. She specifically targeted those who had no close family, no one to come looking. She would forge their names, continue collecting their benefits, and go about her life with practiced normalcy. One man was found with plastic wrap around his head. Another had traces of Dalmane, a powerful sedative, in his system. Bodies had signs of post-mortem handling, but there were no signs of rage, no wild stabbings or gunshots. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was systematic, businesslike. When police began to suspect her, she quietly fled, disappeared from her house while detectives were still digging. It triggered a manhunt across California. She was finally caught in a motel in Los Angeles after being recognized by a man in a bar who saw her face on the news. Even then, she tried to charm her way out of it. "I didn't kill anyone," she told police. "The checks came, yes, but I cared for them." She stood trial in 1993 for 9 murders, but was only convicted of 3. The jury deadlocked on the rest. Still, she was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Dorothea Puente died behind bars in 2011 at age 82. The most haunting part? To this day, no one knows exactly how many people she killed. Some say it was just the 8 bodies found. Others believe there were many more. People who were transient, forgotten, easy prey. Visitors to the boarding house, which still stands, sometimes report strange chills, especially near the garden. Locals still walk by and shake their heads. She was so normal, they say. But evil often looks like that. It smiles, it bakes pies. It offers you a place to stay when no one else will. And sometimes it buries you in the backyard. Dead Mountain, the Dyatlov mystery. In January 1959, 9 young hikers set out into the Ural Mountains of Soviet Russia, led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old radio engineering student. Their goal, reach Mount Otorten, a challenge even for experienced trekkers. They were all fit, seasoned hikers, and members of the Ural Polytechnic Institute. Spirits were high. Photographs from early in the journey show laughter, camaraderie, and youthful confidence. None of them ever came back. Weeks later, when their families in the school grew worried over their silence, a search party was sent. What they found in the snowy wilderness, on a slope of a mountain the Mansi tribespeople called Kholat Syakhl, or Dead Mountain, would puzzle investigators for decades. The hiker's tent was found torn from the inside, slashed open as if in a panic. It was still full of their belongings, boots, coats, food, all left behind as if they had fled in a sudden terror. The snow bore no signs of an avalanche or animal attack. Instead, footprints, bare feet, socks, one with only a single shoe, led away from the tent and into the woods. A mile downhill near the edge of the forest, 2 bodies were found by a cedar tree. They were stripped down to their underwear, huddled close as if to share warmth. Their hands were burned, perhaps from trying to start a fire. Branches of the cedar were broken up high, indicating one had climbed to look for something, or someone. As the search continued, 3 more bodies were found between the tent and the tree, frozen in positions suggesting they were trying to crawl back. Still, no signs of external trauma, just cold, just death. Then things got worse. It took weeks for the snow to melt enough to reveal the remaining 4. When found, they were deeper in the forest, in a ravine, far from the others, and in an even more grotesque state. One woman was missing her tongue and eyes. Another had her skull crushed. 2 others had massive chest fractures. A Soviet forensic expert compared the internal damage to that of a car crash, but with no bruising on the skin, as if the injuries came from an impossibly strong, concentrated pressure. No external wounds, no struggle, no answers. The official Soviet ruling? An unknown compelling force. That phrase was the only conclusion offered, and it stuck. Rumors quickly swirled. Radiation was found on some of the clothes. Locals spoke of glowing orange spheres in the sky the night they died. Some whispered of secret military experiments or weapons tests. Others blamed Yeti or Mansi shamans. Conspiracies bloomed like frostbite. In the years that followed, investigators, scientists, and authors tried to uncover what happened. One theory posits infrasound caused by wind over the mountains, creating low-frequency vibrations that induce panic and hallucinations. Another says a slab avalanche could have startled them out of the tent, with hypothermia and injuries following after. But none of these theories answer everything. Not the missing tongue, not the shattered ribs without bruises, not the way experienced hikers fled barefoot into deadly cold. The incident file was quietly closed by the Soviet government and remained sealed for decades. But here's where it gets darker. In 2019, Russia reopened the investigation under public pressure. Their final report, issued in 2020, blamed a snow slab avalanche, a plausible cause, yes. Yet many experts disagreed. The slope was too shallow, and if an avalanche hit, why were the hikers' footprints still visible? Why didn't the tent get buried completely? And why, if they'd merely been injured and cold, did no one go back for their boots? Or light the stove still inside the tent? And perhaps the most haunting part of all, Yuri Yudin, the 10th member of the group, had turned back early due to illness. He was the only one to survive. He spent his life obsessed with the incident, devouring every document, every photograph. Before his death in 2013, he was asked what he thought really happened. He answered, "If I had a chance to ask God just one question, it would be, what really happened to my friends that night?" To this day, no one knows. The Dyatlov Pass remains one of the most terrifying, unanswered cases in history. A place where logic breaks down, evidence twists into riddles, and 9 healthy people, young, brave, and full of life, died in absolute chaos without a single witness. Some truths are simply buried beneath the snow, forever.